Attention all F1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. Get ready to hear about a dynamic that might surprise you. Have you heard of the recent rise of Aston Martin in the F1 grid? Their sensational start to the season in Bahrain was no fluke, and their impressive performance has reportedly made Toto Wolff, the team boss of Mercedes, secretly pleased. Why? Well, not only is Toto a 1% shareholder in the company, but Mercedes also purchased a 20% stake in Aston Martin last year. This close relationship between the two teams might have played a significant role in Aston Martin's success, which poses an interesting conflict of interest for Mercedes shareholders. In this video, F1 Max will discuss how this relationship could impact the F1 season, and how the rise of Aston Martin may impact and benefit Toto Wolff and Mercedes AMG. Aston Martin made a sensational start to the Formula 1 season in Bahrain, proving that their pace in testing was no fluke. The team was consistently among the top performers in all practice sessions, with both drivers easily progressing to the final stage of qualifying. Although they couldn't match the Red Bulls up front, a 5th and 8th place start was an incredible achievement for Aston Martin. And things only got better in the race, with Fernando Alonso's car showing impressive pace by overtaking some of the big guns. Meanwhile, Mercedes had a disappointing start to the season, finishing in 5th and 7th place, well below their usual high standards. Team boss Toto Wolff was undoubtedly upset with the result, but he might secretly be pleased to see a new challenger emerge on the grid. When Lawrence Stroll bought the former Force India team, he was still looking to sell some shares in the team after it became Aston Martin. One of the more surprising investors was Mercedes team boss. Yes, that's right, Toto Wolff bought a 1% share in one of Mercedes' competitors. It was originally a 4.95% share, but this was subsequently diluted to 1%. But it is not just Toto Wolff that holds a stake in Aston Martin. It is reported that Mercedes purchased a 20% stake in Aston Martin later in 2020. I mean, it is pretty shocking to see that these two would purchase part of their competition. But in terms of an investment, it looks like a pretty smart one at the moment. That is because Aston Martin's stock price rose by 15% after Alonso finished 3rd in Bahrain. Aston Martin's brilliant start to the season has helped the company's stock price a lot. Aston Martin's stock price has not been rising rapidly since Lawrence Stroll helped the company return to the F1 track, but their good result in Bahrain saw an impressive jump in the stock price. The stock price jumped when the market reopened the day after the race. It means that Toto Wolff would have seen his investment rise slightly thanks to Alonso passing George Russell during the race. One of the things that is most surprising about Aston Martin's incredible pace over Mercedes is that it clearly has nothing to do with the engine. Aston Martin are using the same engine that Mercedes use, yet they're not getting any more pace out of it. In fact, Lewis Hamilton spoke about the similarities of the Aston Martin and Mercedes cars after the race in Bahrain. Hamilton said, "Fernando did a great job. It's amazing to see. And to all the Aston Martin team, they did such an amazing job." Don't you think it seems pretty weird seeing Lewis compliment Fernando like that considering their history? Hamilton added, "But we've got work to do because half of their car is ours. They build their car and do their aero in our wind tunnel, so we've got work to do." It is surprising that Aston Martin have the pace advantage over Mercedes when the two teams work so closely together. To help reduce costs, Aston Martin buy their engines from Mercedes instead of trying to make engines themselves. Aston Martin also do this because in the past, Mercedes have been able to produce one of the fastest engines on the grid. Mercedes are usually a very popular engine supplier, partly because they produce the best hybrid engines for a very long time. Aston Martin and Mercedes have a close relationship, mainly because of how fast Mercedes cars have been in the past. Aston Martin wanted to copy the Mercedes cars when the Silver Arrows were the fastest on the grid. But that close relationship remains, with Mercedes making the relationship even closer when they purchased a stake within Aston Martin. That has made it very difficult for Mercedes shareholders, who would love to see the stock price of Aston Martin continue to rise as it fills their pockets. One of the things that makes this dynamic more interesting is that in the past, Mercedes have made sure to give their team the best engines they make. This ensures that Mercedes could challenge for the title, and it was certainly the right decision considering all of the success Mercedes have had in the hybrid era. But this season could be unique. Mercedes might not be the fastest Mercedes-powered car. That currently looks like Aston Martin. The Silverstone-based team look like they will be the closest team to Red Bull on pure pace, with Mercedes lagging behind at the moment. The rumours are that if this continues, Mercedes bosses will consider giving the best engines to Aston Martin so that they can challenge Red Bull. Aston Martin certainly seem like the best team at the moment to challenge Red Bull at the front of the grid. So it makes sense for Mercedes to put Aston Martin in the best position to win. Not only does it give the team a good shot of defeating Red Bull, but it would also help the Mercedes shareholders. So there could be a very interesting dynamic developing if Mercedes don't perform well over the next few weeks. Lewis Hamilton has spoken about where he feels the team is at the moment when you compare Mercedes to their competitors. Hamilton said after practice in Bahrain, "But nonetheless, we'll just keep our head down tonight. We'll go through the data, we'll continue to work and try to progress tomorrow. We've got to try and find out if there's any way we're going to add performance overnight." Not a good sign that Mercedes were scrambling for pace overnight in Bahrain. The 7-time world champion also spoke about where he felt the Silver Arrows were compared to the rest of the field. Hamilton said, "I thought that the Ferraris were second. I think on the long run, we're quite close to Ferrari. It looks like Aston was second and we're between third and fourth. So we're kind of either where we were last year, if not a little bit further behind." Mercedes is certainly not in a good place by the look of it, and team boss Toto Wolff has piled on the criticism about where Mercedes are at the moment. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff has been just as disappointed about the team's start to the season. Wolff was asked about whether this early season troubles could have caused a split between Mercedes and Hamilton. Wolff said, "The Lewis situation, you heard him on the radio, I think he's an integral part of the team, picking the team up, we're always sticking together." Wolff added, "I don't think that's going to change just because we've had another start that was really bad." The Mercedes team boss has also recently been talking about the team he has a stake in, Aston Martin. Wolff said, "They did a really good job. They hired a Red Bull man who managed to make the car suddenly 2 seconds faster. A year ago, they were 11th and 19th in practice. We knew that Alonso was strong and motivated, but even Lance Stroll rode up front with 2 broken hands and a broken toe." He was also asked if the jump in Aston Martin performance helped him financially, with Wolff simply saying, "I hope the share price goes up." While this will be partly because he wants the best for the Mercedes shareholders, I'm sure the German won't mind seeing his own investment increase. Do you think that this Mercedes-Aston Martin conflict of interest could push Mercedes to try to help Aston Martin beat Red Bull? Why not put your thoughts in the comments below? While you're down there, why not hit the like button and subscribe? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.